Hello, my name is Michael Todaran, and I am today's host of the Landscape Architecture Podcast. And today's guest is Gerdo Aquino. Hello, Gerdo.
Michael.
Hi. Can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Gerdo Aquino, and I am the firm-wide CEO of SWA. We're about 260 people across 8 offices, North America and overseas. And we practice landscape architecture, planning, and urban design.
Great. So you have an office in Dallas, Houston, Laguna Beach, Los Angeles, Sausalito, San Francisco, Shanghai, United Arab Emirates, and New York with SWA Bosley.
You got it right.
Okay. And did your inner office communications affect your decision making following, and did your inner office communications, being a global firm, how did that help determine your steps with preparing for COVID and moving forward, and especially probably the Shanghai office probably informed a lot of decisions?
Right. As a global firm, we're very conscious of communications and making sure that there is no interruption in communication, whether it's from US to our office overseas. And so we've learned from the past. I mean, we've been through SARS and MERS and other major events that have happened throughout the world where communication could be interrupted. And so our approach has always been to prepare always. And so when COVID started to appear, we were already adapting to a work at home approach, not globally across all offices, but we had already had people working from home using a certain kind of software that enables them to communicate with their computer in the office, which has access to a file server, etc. So when the situation started to worsen across the US and certainly in China before us, we were already starting to transition to a work at home approach. And a lot of it, I would say, in terms of our ability to adapt quickly, was because we were able to learn from our folks in our Shanghai office who were kind of in the front line of all that activity early on. And we were communicating with them constantly, asking questions about, well, what is the situation now? Have you moved everyone out of the Shanghai office to home, and how is that working? What challenges are you experiencing? What can we learn from in terms of potential challenges and pitfalls in that communication gap that could occur?
I feel like that first person narrative is probably more informative than all the different news sources that you might be getting. I feel like that would be almost invaluable.
It was, and it continues to be. We have at SWA what we call an executive committee, which is the leaders of the firm. Every office has a managing partner who oversees that office. And we used to talk maybe once every month and a half or once every 2 months. Now we talk every Monday at the same time, just to go over any issues that are arising in the past 7 days. We want to make sure that we're constantly adapting and giving our staff the resources they need to do their work and to meet deadlines and to keep clients connected with us.
You've always been a great advocate for both resiliency and infrastructure. And do you think now that the world has had a moment to reflect on its priorities, that landscape architecture will have a greater case for establishing more resilient projects and stronger infrastructural projects?
Right. It's interesting, the word resilience and resiliency in the face of COVID-19 is incredibly relevant now. I think as landscape architects, we're constantly thinking about the bigger picture and how our landscapes can be resilient, how our culture can be resilient, and in this case, how the entire design profession could be resilient in the face of this incredible challenge. And so I think that as we start to come out of COVID-19, which I'm a very optimistic person, you know me, Michael, I think that the way we work will forever be different. It'll be the new normal, right? We'll see a workforce that has adapted to actually working at home very efficiently and being resilient in that way, where maybe family life is a priority, but yet so is work, and so is addressing issues around the world. And you can start to create a new kind of work-life balance that we've never experienced before, right? Where the entire world is doing this incredible experiment of working at home. And I think as we come out of it, I think we'll find a much more resilient workforce that can adapt to even greater changes that happen in the future.
I'm curious as to what a day in the life of Gerdo looks like right now. Like, do you wake up, you know, watch the news, like, and what are your news sources? Do you follow like a little bit of Al Jazeera, then some, you know, oh, I forgot the British one, BBC, or like, how do you get a global perspective? I know that you have the insight perspective through all your offices, but how do you consume information, and then how does your day look like these last couple of days?
Well, today is actually partly cloudy and rainy here in Los Angeles, which is great. But to really answer your question, you know, as the firm-wide CEO, I am responsible for 100% of our employees because we are a 100% employee-owned firm. And so every day I wake up, I think about that. I think about how, as a 100% employee-owned firm, what can I do to make sure that we stay ahead of these challenges that are coming at us? And so my routine is fairly straightforward. I wake up at the crack of dawn like I always do. I have a makeshift workspace, which you can see here. This is my dining room. It's my living room behind me. There's the front door is that direction. And I have my laptop, and I have other kind of IT related items that our IT group has given me. And I'm always watching all the different news channels, you know, from every presidential announcement to CNN to other news sources that are relevant to our work. But you know, as you mentioned, the first person information from our folks in these different offices, especially in UAE and China, are really great resources for us, for me. And then, of course, our weekly executive committee meetings where every office in the US kind of reports what's happening in their backyard. Do we see any disruption in our workflow? Our clients, public or private, hitting the pause button? Do they have reservations, or are they pushing forward and trying to get the work done in the face of COVID-19? So I am everywhere all the time, but through my computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I was at the office, you traveled a lot, and is it a little bit of a nice break for you to not be on a plane for a little while?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's necessary to travel because I feel that it's very important to have that human connection with people.
I agree.
You know, it just means so much to me and my personality and how I can be effective. It is a nice break, on the other hand, and I think what we're doing right now is something I'm very used to. I have maybe 10 of these a day.
Yeah.
Not a podcast, not 10 podcasts a day,
but Zoom meetings and
10 Zoom meetings a day at different durations. Some are quick.
Yeah.
Even a 5-minute Zoom call is important to both people, from my end and from the person on the other end. You would think that a 5-minute call could just be done, you know, on the phone, but human connection is even more important now than it was previously.
I agree. let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about some projects that recently came online. Some of them I have a particular interest in because I was involved with, especially the Culver Steps.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about the context of that project and how you feel it came out?
Culver Steps is actually two projects in one. One is the Culver Steps, which is a mixed-use um, project with kind of an open space designed as a stair amphitheater. The other component is everything else. So that is called Culver Main Plaza, and that is really kind of under City of Culver City jurisdiction. And so the two work closely together to bring a sense of center to
So it
Culver
was,
City.
sorry, is one private and one public?
They are, one is public, 100% public, which is Culver Main Plaza.
Right. And then the steps is
The steps is essentially a parcel, a designated parcel that contains the building and the steps, and that is private.
right. But I remember it seemed pretty seamless working together. Everyone was, I guess, playing ball,
Absolutely.
which was really nice, because if they didn't, that could get really sticky.
Yeah, I think that's a team, which when you think about the client side, you had City of Culver City and Hackman. On the consultant side, you had SWA, you had EYRC, and a host of other consultants, really thinking about the project as public, number one. Putting aside the technical aspects of what's really private and privately owned or publicly managed, we tried to envision that project as a holistic public realm experience. And today, when you go out there, I mean, the open spaces are open, and you can go up the steps and walk up them and sit there. We are, I think, at this point, looking at when the different retailers will move into their space. I'm not sure if COVID-19 has had any impact on the scheduling of move-in, but I do know that all of it will be filled soon.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I think it's anchored by Amazon, so I think that will help, right? So as long as you have one big anchor, like, back in the day it would be like a Macy's or a Nordstrom's, and now it's, more tech. But I think as long as it has that anchor, everything else will be okay. And it seems like, Amazon's going to be okay. So.
Yeah, I think it's geographically, it's a great location, and it's sort of a nexus of the way the roads are configured in Culver City. Everything does really point to that as a center. And in terms of how it turned out, material-wise and detail-wise, pretty good. I'm really impressed with the level of sophistication that we were able to achieve on the steps themselves. All those steps were designed 100% in Rhino 3D, and we worked directly with Shaw and Sons, which is a local concrete fab and concrete paving company, to make every piece of that step and then brought and set into place in situ. So that went pretty well. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade your analysis on that. And it wasn't just pretty good, it was amazing. Like, and I had because I helped do some of the details, and like, and so I had a vested interest to follow the project and go and look. And I've been there several times, and I just trying to find a flaw. I just can't. I mean, everything, the finish, the angles, the smoothness, everything that was laid out I'm just thoroughly impressed. So you have a good design, you have good coordination between private, public, and then you have a good execution, and then you have like all those intersecting points in Culver City. I think this is going to be a precedent project for SWA for a really long time for other cities to look at.
I hope so. I hope
yeah.
so.
Do you have any other projects that are coming online that you're excited about, or that are still in development that you find interesting?
Our Dallas office just opened what's called Pacific Plaza in downtown Dallas. And that's a city like Los Angeles that is really rediscovering its downtown. And this park is about, I think it's about 4 acres urban, surrounded by 40-story towers. And it turned out really great. It's open to the public. It has programming and activation strategies. And it's a project that I think is very SWA, in the sense that the design language came out of a very close collaboration with the city of Dallas and with the constituent groups that weigh in on the design. I think that turned out great. I'm excited about that one. And there are other projects in New York. You probably know of the Hudson
Yes.
River Park, right? That project turned out really well. It has a sense of resiliency related to flooding, and that seems to perform pretty well from what I've heard. Quality of construction is stellar. I'm excited about what's coming up in San Francisco. Our San Francisco office is redesigning, I think it's called Portsmouth Square, which is this historic open space square in the center of Chinatown in San Francisco. That one is under design at the moment, and that'll be something to see when it gets completed. But there's all kinds of really great work happening across the firm, and for me, it's a challenge to just kind of stay up to date. People are busy.
Have you had to have like a morale talk with all of SWA in regards to like leadership and people being concerned? I'm sure that some people might be worried about job security. Some people might be worried about the future of landscape architecture. How are you keeping the morale working?
Well, morale when we're not even in the same room together, right? It's
Yeah.
I think people are listening to the news, they're reading the paper, and maybe their outlook on the profession might be cloudy. And maybe their outlook on job security might be cloudy also. And so what I have started doing is sending out a weekly update from my desk to let everyone know what's happening across the firm. And knock on wood, as of today, we still have 100% of our staff. No one has been furloughed as of yet, again, knock on wood. And I would have to say that the reason why we might be resilient in that way is we're a large firm, and some offices are really busy, and some offices maybe not as busy. And you've worked with us, you worked at SWA before, Michael, and you may know this, that we share resources. So if the Los Angeles office is super busy, but another office is not as busy, the office that's not as busy will send over their folks to work in the LA office. And in this case, those folks don't even have to come over to Los Angeles. They're working remotely, but with access to the files in Los Angeles. So it's an incredible transition and adaptation to how we can share resources. I mean, we're really taking it to a whole nother level when we're talking about sharing people resources across the firm. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it almost seems like in the beginning of our conversation that a new normal is what you were alluding to. And I feel like that might be one of the strongest new normals. Is I remember, I was on a project and we were short some people, and we flew in some people from, right, I think Laguna, and but now it just seems like it's a matter of just an email. Say, hey, can you jump on this project? Here's the file name, and here's what I need done. And
it is. And everyone has gotten used to having check-in meetings using Zoom. Maybe every few days they'll have a check-in and then a reporting to communicate what they've been able to accomplish or not accomplish. And our IT group really should be commended for what they've been able to do. It's not a one size fits all approach to getting people to communicate to the server. Every situation is a little different. Your Wi-Fi may not be strong enough,
sure.
or maybe at 5 p.m. when everybody wants to use that Wi-Fi, it's not as strong, or
Sure.
you're using a Mac or a PC, and then your avatar computer in the office is a different kind of computer.
Sure.
They've been able to look at every single person and maximize their ability to work from home, and that's been amazing.
I kind of feel like there are true heroes right now.
I think so.
I
think so.
Maybe after everything settles down, we'll throw them a little party and a hug and something, because it can't be easy for them right now.
It's not, and one day they're the hero, the next day they're the villain.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And I told I expressed to our IT group that, look, you need to just stay neutral, take the good and the bad, but just keep pushing forward. They understand that some people are going to be really frustrated with the performance or lack of performance on their communications with AutoCAD or Rhino from the cloud or all kinds of things, which I'm not aware of everything. I just kind of get the trickle down challenges that I might understand.
I know that you like to do a lot of hand drawing and sketching your concepts and your ideas. And funny story. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to share something with you. It was going to be my first time working with you with some hand drawings. And George Kuttner had a lot of experience working with you, and he actually sent me an Excel sheet with the names of the markers and what color you liked for what. So he was like, for shrubs he likes this color, for this he likes this color. And then when I turned in my first drawing, you were like, oh, I had a big leg up.
Oh yeah.
So shout out to George on that. But I guess my question is, you're going to have to adapt to your hand drawings. Are you still hand drawing and then taking pictures with your phone? Are you using a tablet? How are you adjusting to that?
I have a newer Dell laptop/tablet, and it has this pen right here.
Sure. And
I open up PDFs and JPEGs in Bluebeam.
Yep.
You ever use Bluebeam?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a lifesaver.
I'm new to it. You sound like you're a veteran with Bluebeam.
Well, I'm still pretty new, but I appreciate the power of it.
Yeah. So I've kind of self-tutored myself with Bluebeam, and my drawings are not as well. You know how I draw, right? They're not quite that high-level illustrative type sketches. They're more of what I could do with Bluebeam, which Bluebeam can do amazing things. I'm just not there yet. So right now it's me taking the pen and kind of trying to shape the landscape with some lines, or I might mark up a detail, or maybe just add a few notes. Yeah.
So maybe I'll give you a little tip. Maybe this will maybe you could utilize this or not, but I've been using a combination of Bluebeam and also opening up some PDFs in Photoshop, and then just using, because I have that tablet too, and just drawing on it like I would by hand. So it's more looser and organic than Bluebeam's a little technical and a little rigid. Right. So maybe you could try that as well, and you could add a little color and things like that. But I don't know. Who knows?
I think I'll try that. Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome. So one thing that I wanted to ask is, I feel like you're somebody who likes the experience of things. I think when we talked last time, you know, you liked being in downtown because you have the pulse of the city and the character, and just, you know, walking to your car, you're always in, like, immersed within Los Angeles. And now that's going to be a little bit different for a little while. How can we get, or how can we simulate that immersion, or maybe we can't? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that, because as I sit here at home and you know, I'm not seeing what you just described. I do feel that sense of longing for that urban connection. I mean, here in Los Angeles, I live in a neighborhood called Silver Lake, and you know, it's not quite downtown LA. You know, there are no homeless people really in Silver Lake, at least from what I could see. I guess when I look at that experience, I think to myself that this situation is temporal, and that we are tackling this issue, right? Washington is tackling this. Everyone, for the most part, seems to be following CDC guidelines. And so I hope that in my mind that it is temporal, and I'll be able to get back to that urban experience and continue to allow that to inform my design. The question of, you know, how do I think creatively in the absence of that, right? And yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine this is where you'd be drawing on your experience the most, where you know, before you could just jump in your car and go to a site and kind of do it, but I think now, I imagine you'll have to draw on your experience and maybe look at Google Earth or try to find alternatives to immerse yourself, but I think that's something we're all going to have to,
sure,
you know, play with.
You know, it's a very interesting question. You know, how does working at home somehow affect your approach to design and your creativity? And you know, we have clients right now in the public realm, public sector, LA County, LA City, MRCA, and we're actively working on planning and design projects along different river corridors and street corridors. And you know, it's been interesting because everyone is grappling with that same issue of feeling disconnected, but yet we are innovating right now and thinking about ways in which to reinvent public outreach, for example, and using different kinds of media platforms to commute with different groups within the neighborhood, um, or different constituent stakeholder groups. And we're going through that right now, and everybody does feel the learning curve aspect to it, but everyone at the same time is very excited about not just being at home and feeling like you got to give up. Everybody is doing the opposite. It's now's the time to innovate and not retreat. And so I'm not surprised, but I'm kind of energized by all of our clients, public or private sector, who are pushing forward with an incredible sense of optimism and creativity and innovation. I'm really energized by that.
Last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were building a house. Any updates on that? That was like your out.
All right. Yeah, you're talking about the house that I'm building in Los Olivos,
yes.
California, right? That is still a work in progress, even after 10 years
sure.
of building that house from scratch. I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
We are very close to completing that project.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, are you teaching, have you been teaching this semester?
I am not.
Okay.
I took a break from teaching a few years ago to refocus my energy on SWA, and and I think that was a good decision for me at that time. The firm is growing. Even during this time, it feels like it's still growing. And I think sometime in the near future, I may reconnect with academia, but
Mm.
I'll have to make sure that SWA is moving forward and has the leadership it needs to keep moving.
Do you have any advice to any students right now that are, maybe like a first year and maybe a graduate student, just about to graduate?
Well, those are two different kinds of students.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for the students that are just starting their education, I think they're in a great position to learn a new kind of curriculum that wasn't um, even thought of just a few years ago. I'm not talking about just resiliency issues, but I'm talking about issues related to post COVID-19. We always, for example, the other day I was talking to a client where just say 4 months ago we were talking about density, right? And thinking about how many people we can get into one space, right? Those kinds of studies, right? And just a couple of days ago, they were wanting to revisit that. Like, hey, that density study we did, can we put a little bit more thought into that? If we look into the crystal globe, what does density mean post COVID-19? How can a landscape architect help us strategize um, a healthy kind of spacing between people? And that goes all the way to stadiums and all kinds of other applications. So I think that's going to be a really interesting component of landscape architecture that, again, wasn't part of the curriculum even just a year ago and now will be. I think for graduates, um, it may not seem like there's a lot of opportunity right now, but from what I could tell, based on our firm and in talking to other CEOs at other landscape architecture firms, small and large, um, there is an incredible amount of work out there, and you will have no issues landing the kind of opportunity job that you're looking for. I mean, we're still hiring at SWA. I think Ing Yu, who the managing partner of our Los Angeles office, I think she just hired 6 people.
Wow.
And these people are starting, I think, maybe 2 months from now. We sort of delayed their starting date because of COVID-19, but the work is there. And I think it's a great time to be a graduate in landscape architecture.
I feel like Ingyu's garden is going to be really spectacular. I know that she has a wonderful garden, and I feel like now there's going to be a little bit more extra love and time into it being at home. So that must be really nice for her plants. I know they're well taken care of already, but they're just going to be even that much greater. I wanted to touch back on your comment on density. I think that's a very important point, and I'm curious if you see that density issues are going to be a combination of how we control circulation by evolving our strategies in controlling circulation, but possibly also incorporating technology like pinging cell phones off of each other that show how many people are in a space, and maybe that informs how we disperse crowds a little bit, or even other technologies that we don't even know of yet. But do you feel like, is there a primary strategy in how we're going to approach density? Is it going to be a lot of case studies and like an advanced form of William White, right? Like kind of type studies.
Right. Right. Our New York office did a white paper recently with our research group, Excel. And it was kind of a William White 2.0, where they revisited some of the same spaces in New York and using different types of technology, they were able to kind of map out density and movement of people and other aspects of kind of urban density. And there were some great takeaways from that too. I should send you a copy of the little book we put together for that.
That'd be great. I'd like
Maybe
that.
send me an email,
I
remind
will.
me, and I'll send that
Yeah.
to you. And I could even, if I knew the link to it, I would say it right now.
Oh, that's okay. That's
for
fine.
your viewers, but
I'll put a link on the show notes.
great, perfect. But to get back to your question, you know, there's so much unknown right now. But as I said earlier, the new normal for landscape architects will have to acknowledge an approach to density that is going to be different moving forward than it is now. For example, I would expect that some of our local codes may change, like the width of a sidewalk, depending on its location within the city, might have to be wider. You know, if you have enough traffic there and we're still cognizant of maybe some spatial needs between people, I have a feeling that codes will change. I have a feeling that public and private clients are going to ask for new deliverables that probably include density, spacing strategies. And I think all of that is probably going to come soon because we're doing it now.
Yeah.
And I think, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds for all of us, for firms that work at every scale.
Mm. What advice do you have for like medium and small size firms right now?
What, in terms of technology or?
Well, it was, I guess my question was a little bit based on a more general, but I think I could narrow it down. I suppose in maintaining work or seeking out new work, or is it a matter of just really taking care of the clients that you have right now? Or is it an amalgamation of diversifying their portfolio? Is it going after RFPs that they're only comfortable with, or do they try to stretch themselves a little bit? Or
it's a challenge for me to kind of put on the hat of an office that, you know, is, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 15 people. But if I do put that hat on, I would say that I think a lot of it has to do with letting the world know that you are engaged and active in designing projects now. That you're not hitting the pause button, that you're out there, you have the abilities, the technology, the resources, the communication tech to be able to take on their issues and provide solutions for them. I think clients right now are a little nervous about a firm's ability to deliver, right? We all say, oh yeah, we can deliver. Yeah, we're the same firm that we were, you know, 1 month ago. And to the extent that maybe that's true, but maybe there's still a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So if you could give your clients the confidence, knowing that you will deliver, that you're available and able to execute, right? The products, right? The documentation, the permitting. The City of LA permitting department is open, but it's a challenge right now, trying to get something permitted. with city of county in LA. But I mean, that's what I would say. In addition to everything you just said, Michael, that if you have an existing client now, I think now is the time to increase communication with them, right? To not let them think that things are kind of not getting done. Do the opposite, overcompensate, and give them that confidence. And I think everything else you said, I agree. I think you just have to kind of stick with it and innovate your approach.
Have you had to have conversations with some of your clients, assuring them about SWA's resiliency right now? And how did, if so, how did those look like?
We actually have a standard communication piece that we gave to all of our clients to let them know exactly what kind of technology we're using and what they can expect from us in terms of any potential delays or other kinds of challenges that might come up. Beyond that, I think it's making it happen. Okay, so SWA gave us this communication piece. Sounds great. Well,
Right.
Sounds like you guys are perfect. But now they're kind of sitting there waiting to see if we deliver. And so far, we have been able to deliver. People are disciplined and focused. And having these daily check-ins, I think, keeps people, our staff, on point, that, hey, just because you're working at home doesn't mean we want you working at 10 p.m. at night. We still want you to work a solid 8-hour day, get up, start at 8:30, end at 5:30, have your 1-hour lunch break, be available, and then still have your, your evenings.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to have focus groups with different offices to understand where those little changes in that kind of daily workflow are happening, and trying to calibrate them so that everybody's performing at the highest level and our clients are getting what they expect from us.
Yeah. Now, SWA is not a multidisciplinary firm in regards to, like, you don't have an architectural department. And I'm curious, I know that the relationship between architectural firms and landscape architectural firms are very, very close sister disciplines, that each one kind of hands each other work, usually the architects to landscape architects. And I'm curious as to, have you called up or have you had direct, one-on-one conversations with major architectural firms that you work with, and how's it going? Like those types of conversations as well.
Yeah, we, in many ways, the relationship that we have with existing relationship we have with architects, and even relationships that have not yet developed, is still the same today as it was pre-COVID. In other words, we continue to do some great work with a lot of the architecture firms that you and I know. And we continue to foster new relationships with new architects through RFPs that are coming up now through public or private platforms.
Yeah.
So it all seems to be happening. It's it's healthy.
That's great. That's great to hear. I'm curious as to, you mentioned that our deliverables are going to be changing possibly, and so there's RFPs, which is requests for proposals, and then there's RFQs, which is requests for qualifications showing that you're capable of actually doing this project. And I'm curious if our RFQs are going to now involve, hey, this is how we've handled this technology. This is how we adapted so quickly. This is why we could do it. We've incorporated new deliverables. And so I'm wondering if for RFQs, if we're gonna all have to kind of reevaluate that as well.
Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. You know, I would think it would all start with how that RFQ or RFP is written.
Mm.
I think if they put into their RFP or RFQ description that they want to hear about specific approaches to
Oh, I see.
density, or if they want certain kind of qualifications, like, hey, if another similar virus happens a year from now, how will you be prepared? And what experience have you had in the past that will prove to us that you will be successful even if something like this happens again? That may happen.
Mm-hmm.
It very well may happen. I think what a lot of firms are doing right now, at least from some of the folks I've spoken to, is everyone is kind of documenting the steps that they've taken, they're recording it for posterity, but also as a maybe as a living document, game plan, right? If this happened again, here are the steps we're going to take that we knew were successful, but maybe they're making little tweaks to that so that if it does happen again, they're ready to go. If anything, everybody's going to be more prepared now if it happens again, and I think we'll all be better for it.
I agree, and it might be something different, but just the fluidity and the conversations and the one thing that I find interesting is that you've been in this field for a long time. I don't remember, when did you get to Los Angeles? I don't,
2005.
2005. Okay, so I'm born and raised here. I saw the LA riots. I saw the 2007 recession. I saw the Northridge earthquake, and now COVID, and it's very interesting. I'm teaching at Cal Poly now, and of course, 9/11, and I felt like a lot of the younger students, this is their first real major shakeup. I don't know if there was a question there, but more of just an observation on my end that it's interesting that this is their first 9/11 or their first riot or their first recession. And I always felt like there was a sense of false security that they had, not in regards to economy or job, but just the idea of our system always working perfectly.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure anything like that is taught at the university level in terms of preparedness for situations like this, but maybe it should be. Maybe there should be a seminar taught at universities. Maybe you can teach it. There now. A seminar where students can be educated to understand that these things happen and what, as a professional, you can do to prepare yourself or the firm that you're working with prepare for the event, and how you can continue to have workflow. I mean, that's really the key, whether it's now or in the future. Some catastrophic event will happen. Can you continue to provide the service that you've always provided? What are the means that will allow you to do that?
Sure, and to add to that, it would almost be a matter of just going back in time and looking at how, through every one of these major changes, how the industry adapted, and then looking at it holistically, just like we would looking at a particular precedent for a job.
Right.
Right.
It's interesting. You had asked a few questions ago about the RFP process, something like that. And our Dallas office, Chuck McDaniel, who's the managing principal there, he told me that he recently was awarded a new project. I can't say what kind of project it is, but his interview was done through Zoom. the whole interview was done
Yeah.
through Zoom, and they did the scoring and they awarded it to our Dallas office. And I thought that was really great. And the next day, I was talking to one of our attorneys, and he was saying that they are successfully doing everything they did in person online now. They're doing depositions, court hearings. They're doing all
Oh,
this.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah. He
never
said they're
thought of, I
taking.
never even thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our attorney was telling me this, that they're doing depositions through Zoom, and they're doing. I don't know if they're doing like a full-on like court hearing, but it sounds like they are also adapting um, their process so that uh, everybody, so the world can continue to function, right?
Mm,
You would think that something as ancient as the judicial process
sure.
could change like this, but yet here we are, and they're taking depositions online. So
Well, I don't think I mean, it's one of those situations where there's no choice, right?
Mhm.
It's either it's a halt. It's not because it's a luxury or this is more efficient. There's no other option.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Michael, once this is all over, there will be a new normal.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
will include a lot of the experiences that we're going through now will be integrated into the new approach to work, all kinds of
Mm,
work, everyone.
yeah. One thing that I interviewed Merritt Chase, and she's a small firm that started out virtually 7 years ago, meaning her office from the ground up was virtual. And one of the observations that she made that I thought was interesting was that was a selling point to talent. So, you know what I mean by talent, right? There's that one woman or guy that you just want, right? Because they bring something special to the table. And she was saying that um, a lot of that talent were found it appealing that they could work virtually. And I'm thinking that firms across the country now that people will almost expect to be able to work virtually, even when it comes back to a normal. They'll say, well, I only want to come in 1 day a week at hot list. And maybe there's a little bit of leverage in that for the employees as well.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I think that's important, especially if there is a person that you want in the firm because of the creativity they bring to a project or potential leadership. Or if you have an existing employee that is looking to move to another city, but yet you still want to keep them within the firm, I think you have to be flexible and be able to adapt to everyone's needs. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, there's a balance you have to achieve,
sure.
and both sides need to get to yes. But I think what we're experiencing right now is certainly going to accelerate um, a firm's ability to adapt quicker to retain the talent.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts or ideas that you would like to share?
Um, I don't know. I said earlier that now is really a time to innovate and be even more creative than you were before, and that means embracing all the technology that we have to kind of heighten your ability to do what you could do, and not see this time as a hindrance. I actually think I myself am learning a lot right now, and not just technical things like Bluebeam and putting a screen like you have on your background, but I am learning about uh, ways in which I could communicate more effectively with people in the firm or with clients. And finally, just I hope everyone is following CDC guidelines and local and governmental guidelines to stay at home and flatten the curve. I hope that for everyone so that we can come out of this sooner.
I agree. Gerdo, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And I can't wait till one day we could hang out again in person.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, you
But
know what,
yeah,
Michael?
sure.
Remember that skateboard park you worked on with
Yes.
me?
Yeah.
Where it was in Dubai,
In
right?
Dubai. Yeah. Yeah.
It got built.
I've been following Google Earth, Google Earth images of it being built, and I should have reached out to you, but oh, I would love to see any pictures that
Yeah,
you
I
could
have
get.
photos. I'll
Do
send you
you
some.
really?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
send you some.
Yeah, that would be great because I put the team was you, uh, Christensen, myself, George, Trent, and we put. I hope I'm not missing anybody, but we put a lot of love into that, and I
Yeah,
remember
I know you did.
I have a whole series of sketches from you that I saved because they were just beautiful, and then we'd revise it and move forward, and like the whole process was. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, and I would love to see pictures
Will
of it.
do. Okay.
Okay, Gerdo, be safe. Thank you for your time. It's greatly appreciated, and I'm sure you have plenty to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, talk soon.
Okay, bye.
See you soon, hopefully in person.
See you soon. Okay, great.
Okay.